So this is my DIY Bakki shower. It's a 3-tier Eurobox shower. It comes straight out of my moving bed on a 6,000 litre an hour pump. And I just want to talk about the media that's in it for a little while. So I've taken the top off, and this is what we've got in the top. So we have a spray bar that is basically pushing water through the top into some CSM media, and all 3 tiers are full of this stuff. Now this has been running for about 8 months now, probably a little bit less. It's never been cleaned, so as you can see, there's nothing in it. There's no real dirt. There's just water trickling through. It's probably more of a trickle tower than a Bakki shower, but either way it still does the job. And what you can see is I've broken all the bits up into roughly half, and that goes right the way through the whole media. I don't know if you can see in there, but all the tiers have the same media in. So I just want to talk about this media a bit. So I'm just going to pause the video and go and get some of the media so you can have a decent look at it, and we'll talk about what it is, what it does, and how it differs to other media. Right, so I'm back in the house now. There'll probably be a bit of background noise from kids and dogs and God knows what else, but I've got 3 different types of popular shower media here, and we're just going to weigh them and you'll see the size differential. So that's a piece of Alfagrog, 22 grams for a little piece like that. We've got CSM media, 83 grams for quite a large piece, and then we've got a piece of Pummice, which is 57 grams for quite a small piece again. So you can see different densities of the materials. Pummice, as you can see, this is one that you use on your feet to get rid of hard skin, and you can see how much that's worn away compared to the top. Now what we're going to do is a little porosity test. So remember those figures. We're just going to put the Pummice and the Alfagrog and the CSM, if it'll fit, into a bowl of water for a few seconds. And you can see the bubbles coming out where the air is being expelled from the Pummice. And the CSM does pretty much the same thing. The Alfagrog does pretty much the same thing. So what we're going to do a little test of how porous these materials are by seeing how much water they will absorb. So we'll do the same test again when that bit of pumice stops bubbling. Come on, hurry up. You'll see the CSM literally didn't bubble, it just soaked up water like mad. It just acted like a sponge. You didn't see any bubbles at all. But the pumice is bubbling away, which means it's pushing the water out, but it's going through the media quite slowly. So the water is being absorbed, but it's a very slow process. The Alfagrog hardly bubbled at all. Now, Alfagrog is a ceramic media, Pummice is a natural stone, and the CSM, or as it's known as Bakki shower media, or far infrared, is again a man-made ceramic media. But there are very big differences between Alfagrog and CSM. CSM is incredibly porous. It's a massive, massive surface area. And where Alfagrog is a byproduct, it's basically a waste product. CSM is specifically made, and to make CSM you have to fire it at 2000 degrees centigrade or thereabouts, and basically it's a process of using ceramics and salt, and when they fire it the salt dissipates and leaves all the porous holes in it, as far as I'm aware of the manufacturing process anyway. But firing this stuff to 2000 degrees centigrade takes a lot of energy, so it is quite expensive to produce. Now you've got this is what I call the poor man's Bakki house media, because it doesn't have a brand name like Momotaro linked to it. The Momotaro stuff or the cloverleaf stuff is made pretty much on the same sort of principles. Bacteria house media, all made on pretty much the same principles, but because Momotaro basically invented the stuff, it comes at a premium price. So it's a bit like the difference between your brand named orange juice and your oldie value orange juice. Same sort of thing, just made in a slightly different, cheaper way, and without all the expensive marketing and all the rest of it. So they've pretty much stopped bubbling now. You'll see that the pumice has still got a few bubbles coming out, but this will be a good comparison of how porous they are. So we'll start with Alfagrog. We'll just take it out, we'll drop it on the scale, turn the scales on, actually I'll take it off, zero the scale, let's start again. Get the water off. Okay, we'll zero the scale. Okay, when you're trying to record something, why do scales never like to work? There we go, zero. Okay, so we'll just get the excess water off and we'll drop that on. And we've got 26 grams. So it's increased a little, but not a huge amount. Then we'll do the same with the pumice. We'll take that out and we'll drop that on. And we've got what? 62 grams. Okay. And we'll just get the water off there again. Then we'll get the CSM. And that's gone up to 208 grams. And as you can see, now it's out of the water, water is flooding out of it. So that gives you an idea of how porous this stuff is, just by the increase in weight from the water. So I'm going to get out the kitchen now. I'm going to go back to the workshop and we'll chat about it a little bit. Right, so we're back in the workshop where it's a little bit quieter. So there's a good way to show how porous a material is. Literally soak it with water and see how much water it soaks up, and then compare the weights. And you can see that the CSM media was what? Getting on for 3 times heavier with the water. That's how much water it had in it when I put it on the scales. And it's that porous, it couldn't hold on to the water once it was taken out. The water started flooding out. Now, as far as my understanding of trickle towers and Bakki showers and Bakki rivers, is what you want is a good water flow through it. So it has to be very porous. So you want it to have as much water in it as possible, but you want as much surface area on the inside that isn't exposed to oxygen for your anaerobic bacteria to break down nitrates. The mere fact that the water crashes over it and has to go through all the little holes will break down your fines into even finer fines, which will allow the bacteria to consume them. Now, Alfagrog is not incredibly porous, but it is a ceramic media, so it's very, very hard wearing. And it's relatively cheap. You know, you can buy a 15 kilo bag or a 5 kilo bag of Alfagrog for 15 quid. So it's very, very cheap. I could have done that Bakki shower for about 30 or 40 quid's worth of Alfagrog. The pumice stone doesn't look to be as readily available for some reason in large quantities. Hence why I used a foot scrubber. And as you can see, it's very porous. You see the amount of air that was coming out of it. But it's very slow to let the water through. So it's porous, but it has very, very, very fine holes. So the water takes a long time to permeate it. The other downside with pumice is it's very soft. So with the power of the water crashing over it in a shower or in a river or whatever, it breaks down and it becomes almost like talcum powder. So you end up with fines in your water that don't break down because they're stone. So again, it's a compromise with Alfagrog. It's a compromise because it's not as porous, but it's very hard wearing, or it's a compromise with pumice stone that's not very hard wearing, but is incredibly porous. So this is why there was a development into far infrared media, or CSM as it's known, or Bakki shower media, or Momotaro media, or bacteria home, whatever name you want to call it. You've got all the brand names, like Bacteria Home and Momotaro, but they all work on pretty much the same principle. It's a high temperature fired ceramic that is very, very porous and very, very hard wearing. However, the manufacturing process of it is expensive, and is getting more expensive with energy rate increases. So I expect the price of this stuff to skyrocket in the next year. When I built mine, I went to a local koi dealership, Elite Koi in Grimsby, for a koi auction, and I bought 2 boxes of 60 pieces, and that cost me, I think, 130 quid at the time. So that's 120 pieces, it's just over £1 a piece. And that wasn't enough to fill that shower. If you look, I'll try and find a video clip of the shower when I first did it. I first did it in clear boxes, just as an experiment because they were cheaper, just to see how it worked. And when I put the 120 pieces in, it was nowhere near enough. So then I started looking around, and I found a guy that I could get I knew I was going to set up the shop, and I got a trade deal with him, which allowed me to sell it at a better price. So I do boxes of 154 pieces for 140 quid. 2 boxes is ample to do a 3-tier 600 euro box shower. Ample. You can see how full my top box is. Well, the 2 lower boxes are even more full than that because they haven't got the spray bar in, and that's the 120 pieces that I bought originally, and the 154 that I bought after. If you want to buy smaller quantities, say if you look at Vince Twisted Koi, he built a mini Bakki shower for his fry tank, and you'd probably only want a dozen pieces for that. So you wouldn't want a box of 154 pieces. So I also sell it in small quantities, £1 a piece. So if you're going to do a small project for, say, a fish tank or a fry tank, you can buy it in small quantities. Yes, it is more expensive because I have to split the boxes, and I might end up with half a box sat there for 6 months where everybody just wants full boxes. So yeah, it's amazing stuff. It has improved my water quality at no end. It has knocked all my readings through the floor, literally. I don't even have trace nitrite and nitrate now. In fact, I had a little tiny bit of nitrate on the last readings I did, and I think that's purely because the plants aren't growing. But it's so negligible, you could hardly pick up a tinge of pink on the NT Labs test kit. And what I was surprised about was when I was talking to Jack at his live stream the other day, Balding Reefer. We were talking about media, and he'd never really heard of it. So part of this is information for Jack of what it is, and showing the differences between the three main media. But I thought it'd be nice to do a video of it, so that other people can see it as well. I love the stuff. I love it. I think it's absolutely amazing. It just has turned my water around totally. And as I said, I run from my moving bed up into the Bakki shower, and the Bakki shower feeds back into the moving bed. So it's working on the clean water side, and you can see how clean that media is in the top. There's no filter floss. A lot of people put filter floss in the top of their Bakki showers just to catch all the fines. I don't do any of that. I just let it run. The whole idea of a shower is that where the water comes down through is it breaks up the fines so small that the bacteria can attack them. I don't think even if I put a Tempest or a Tempest type filter on my pond now that I'd really be able to improve the water clarity. The clarity is astounding. And I can't recommend this stuff highly enough to anyone. Yes, if you've got the money, go for Momotaro. It probably cost you double. In fact, if you speak to Asim at the People's Pond, I think he's got the proper Momotaro media in there. And I hate to think what it cost him. Asim, if you see this video, comment below what that media cost you, because I think it was hugely expensive. And don't get me wrong, CSM isn't cheap, but if you can combine CSM with Alfagrog or Pummice, you'll find your water clarity goes massively high. If you did a 3-tier shower, top 2 showers of Alfagrog and the bottom 1 of CSM, you would see a vast difference in your water clarity. Vast difference. And a vast difference in your water parameters. So yeah, that's a little bit on Bakki shower media, or Bakki river media, or trickle tower media. They all work on pretty much the same principle. The trickle tower is basically a very slow running Bakki shower. It still works biologically in pretty much the same way. It doesn't quite have the power to smash everything through the media, to break everything up quite as much. But it's mainly about the anaerobic bacteria that live inside the media, as opposed to a moving bed which relies on aerobic bacteria. So one relies on heavy oxygen loads, one relies on no oxygen, and that's the difference between the two. That's the final part of your nitrate cycle, or your nitrogen cycle, is to get the anaerobic bacteria, and they're the hardest ones to get. A lot of people get rid of nitrate through plants and water changes. I don't have to do either of those because I've got enough anaerobic bacteria through my bog filter, which is full of Alfagrog, and my Bakki shower. But my bog filter's been off for the winter. I don't run my bog filter in the winter. And my parameters are still right down as low as you'd ever want to see them. And yes, I do feed through the winter, and no, I'm not a heated pond. I feed right down to 5 degrees with wheat germ. So it's only on the days that are below 5 degrees that I don't feed. I don't feed a lot, I only give them a handful. And there's some big fish in there. But I feed right through with wheat germ. Just to keep them topped up, just to get them to put on some weight over winter. Just to maintain their weight. I've never had any problems with feeding at winter. But I'm not a massive heavy feeder anyway throughout the whole year. I don't push feed my fish. I just enjoy the fish and make sure they're well fed. So yeah, that's my little thoughts on Bakki shower media. Dazzle Koi, he did a much more in-depth video on a DIY Bakki shower and the different types of media. He went into far more detail with it. I think he's far more scientific than I am. Vince Twisted Koi has done his little video on his mini Bakki shower, if everyone wants to go and look at that. There's lots of videos out there about homemade Bakki showers. Righty is just building a polypropylene Bakki shower. Righty is a genius with filters. If you haven't subscribed to Righty's channel, where have you been? The guy is a genius. So yeah, lots of information out there. Not lots of information of where to get the media. So, I do the CSM, I do Alfagrog. Alfagrog's readily available. But the CSM last year, I went to 4 or 5 different koi dealers and I found it at one. So it was one of the things I wanted to get hold of just because of availability. It doesn't seem to be incredibly easy to find. It probably will become far more easy as the popularity of Bakki showers grows, but certainly last year I struggled like mad to find it. So now you know where to go if you're looking for it. www.skegnessponsupplies.com. 2 boxes, I'll even give you free delivery, because over £150 I do free delivery. And you never know, depending where you are, I might even deliver it myself and come do a pond visit. There you go, can't say fairer than that. So hopefully that's given you a little bit of information on Bakki showers and media and the differences between them, and it'll give you a little bit more information to make a choice on what you want to put in your filter system.